You're the easygoing one, the one who says, whatever works for everyone, the one who doesn't argue, doesn't complain, doesn't make things complicated. People like that about you. They say you're low maintenance. But sometimes, late at night, there's a quiet feeling you can't fully explain. A subtle question appears. If you're always the easy one, why do you sometimes feel invisible? And why does something inside you feel slightly unheard? 2. Problem deep dive. Being easygoing sounds like a personality trait, but for many people, it slowly becomes something else, a role. You become the person who adapts. If friends choose the restaurant, you're fine with it. If plans change last minute, you adjust. If someone interrupts you, you let it slide. On the surface, everything looks smooth. No conflict, no tension. But inside, there are small moments that accumulate. Moments when you wanted something different. Moments when you had an opinion but didn't say it. Moments when you agreed, even though you weren't sure. It doesn't feel dramatic. It feels subtle, a quiet habit of stepping aside. Over time, this shapes how others see you. They assume you're always okay, always flexible, always accommodating. And eventually, something strange happens. Your preferences stop being asked about, not out of cruelty, but because people believe they already know the answer. You're fine with anything. But internally, something else is forming, a quiet tension between two versions of you. The outer version, calm, agreeable, easygoing, and the inner version that sometimes wishes someone would ask, "What do you want?" This pattern isn't random. It's deeply connected to something psychologists call conflict avoidance and social harmony maintenance. And the brain has very specific reasons for choosing this path. But to understand why, we need to look at how the brain treats conflict itself. Because for your nervous system, conflict isn't just uncomfortable, it can feel like a threat. And once your brain learns that lesson, it starts building a personality around that. 3. Reframe. Before assuming this pattern is weakness, consider something important. Your brain evolved to prioritize belonging. For most of human history, survival depended on group cooperation. Being rejected by the group wasn't just emotionally painful. It could mean fewer resources, less protection, and real danger. So your brain developed systems designed to maintain social harmony. One of those systems encourages behaviors that reduce friction, agreeing, adapting, staying flexible. These behaviors increase the likelihood that others feel comfortable around you. And when people feel comfortable around you, they tend to keep you in the group. From an evolutionary perspective, being easygoing can actually be a very intelligent strategy. It lowers social risk, it reduces potential rejection, it keeps the environment stable. So, if you've developed this pattern, it doesn't mean you lack strength. It means your brain learned a reliable way to maintain safety. But here's the quiet trade-off. When harmony becomes the highest priority, your own voice slowly becomes optional. And once that happens, the brain starts reinforcing the pattern automatically, which raises a deeper question. What exactly happens inside your brain when you choose harmony over expression? 4. Psychological mechanism. Your brain constantly predicts how social situations might unfold. It runs simulations. If I say this, what might happen? If I disagree, how will they react? These predictions are processed partly by the prefrontal cortex, which evaluates outcomes. But the emotional weight of those predictions comes from the amygdala, the brain's threat detection center. If your past experiences taught your brain that conflict leads to discomfort, embarrassment, or tension, the amygdala starts flagging disagreement as risky, not dangerous in a physical sense, but socially threatening. So when a moment of disagreement appears, two systems activate. One system pushes you to express your opinion, another warns you about potential tension. This creates a subtle internal conflict, and your brain resolves it using a simple rule: avoid the option that feels emotionally heavier. Psychologists call this emotional cost minimization. If speaking up feels heavier than staying quiet, your brain chooses quiet. Here's a helpful metaphor. Imagine your mind has a small emotional energy budget for every social interaction. Conflict costs energy, disagreement costs energy, standing your ground costs energy. Agreeing costs very little. So if your brain wants to conserve emotional energy, it learns to choose the cheaper option. Over time, this becomes automatic. You stop evaluating each moment individually. Your brain simply defaults to go with the flow. But the hidden cost appears slowly. When your voice is rarely used, your brain starts lowering its priority, and eventually, even you start wondering whether your preferences matter as much as everyone else's. So how do you shift this pattern without turning into someone confrontational or rigid? The answer isn't becoming louder, it's becoming clearer, and that process starts with small psychological adjustments. 5. Practical framework. Changing this pattern isn't about abandoning kindness or flexibility, it's about restoring balance between harmony and self-expression. Here are 4 psychological principles that help. Step 1. Notice the micro silences. What to do? Start noticing the exact moments when you choose silence over expression. Not the big ones, the small ones. Why it works in the brain? Awareness activates the prefrontal cortex, which helps override automatic habits. Patterns lose power once they become visible. Example, a group is choosing a movie. You prefer something different. Instead of speaking, you say nothing. Later, you mentally note it. That was a moment I stayed quiet. This simple recognition begins weakening the automatic pattern. Step 2. Practice low-stakes expression. What to do? Start expressing preferences in situations where the stakes are small. Why it works in the brain? Behavioral psychology shows that gradual exposure reduces perceived threat. Your brain learns that expressing preferences does not automatically lead to conflict. Example, instead of saying, anything is fine, you say, I'd actually prefer Italian tonight. Nothing dramatic happens, your brain updates its prediction. Expression becomes less threatening. Step 3. Separate disagreement from rejection. What to do? Remind yourself that disagreement is not the same as social rejection. Why it works in the brain? Many easygoing people unconsciously link disagreement with social rejection. Reframing this breaks the association inside the brain's threat system. Example, you say you'd rather leave earlier from a gathering. Someone disagrees, but the relationship stays intact. Your brain learns an important lesson. Conflict does not equal abandonment. Step 4. Protect one personal boundary. What to do? Choose one area of your life where your preference will be clearly expressed. Just one. Why it works in the brain? Boundaries create stable identity signals. When the brain sees that certain preferences remain consistent, self-priority increases. Example, maybe it's your time. If someone asks you to stay late unexpectedly, you say, I can't tonight. You don't over-explain. This teaches your brain something powerful. Your needs can exist without destroying harmony. 6. Integration. Here's the mental model that ties everything together. Imagine 2 dials in your mind. One dial controls harmony, the other controls self-expression. For many easygoing people, the harmony dial is almost turned all the way up, and the expression dial stays low. Not because you lack opinions, but because your brain learned that harmony keeps things safe. The goal isn't to flip the system, it's simply to rebalance the dials. A little more expression, a little less automatic accommodation. And when that balance shifts, something interesting happens. People don't suddenly reject you. In fact, many relationships become clearer because now the real version of you is slightly more visible. 7. Quiet, empowering close. Being easygoing isn't a flaw. It's a form of social intelligence. It means you understand how to keep things calm, how to reduce friction, how to make people comfortable. But your comfort matters too. Your preferences, your voice, your quiet opinions, they don't need to compete with harmony. They just need space beside it. Because the goal was never to stop being easygoing. The goal was to stop disappearing inside that role. And sometimes the smallest sentence can begin that shift. Not whatever you want, but something simpler, something honest. I actually have a preference.